Hi, I'm Joss Ferry, Professionals Real Estate. Today I've got Darren Gubbs, who is an architectural designer, as part of my team to talk to you about some issues of using architects when one buys a house or one's thinking of staying for the long haul. Now Darren is doing a little bit of work for me on a garage that I've got that is not being utilised, and I've asked Darren to come up with some ideas on how I could perhaps generate some income going forward. So Darren, can you just explain what I've done, what I haven't done, and what I've got to do to actually turn this into something that's going to generate income for me? It'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So when you came to us, you wanted to find ways of being able to utilise your garage to potentially get some passive income. It's got really good access to both the airport, Southern Motorway and the city. So instantly we thought about what you could use that as. So we went back into the zoning rules for your area, and we know that we could turn it into a sleep out or minor dwelling. You could also use it as an office, or invite other collaborators to use it as a meeting space to meet from their own networks. So in that process, we also found that there was no CCC.
No.
So we're managing that for you as well.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's an example of the kind of things Darren can do for me and you, really. And it's just so good to go to someone who has this knowledge and can actually work through all that council stuff that none of us are familiar with. And the other thing that you're doing for me is helping out a couple I sold a property to earlier in the year, and they want this to be their forever home, and they've engaged Darren to actually go through the process. So Darren, can you use that as an example, because it's quite relevant really?
Sure. So this couple want to have a forever home. So they came to us after thinking about things for themselves, and they thought that they could utilise the floor plan in a certain way. Through some investigation, we've worked out in that collaborative approach between ourselves and the client together, changing that a little bit to help it work out better for them. Sunlight is really important.
Of course it is. We love
these spaces that they can continue having an office, so they can use their little bit of work from home. It is their forever home, so we don't know how these things are going to change over time. Having that really good streetscape is also very important for this house.
Very good for resale value if something came up and the property was too big for the one person living in it and things like that. But also that you've also, I understand, the owners have a collection of cars and they're quite specific about a garage. So could you just go through, they have a garage, but it's not going to comply to their needs. So what has to happen with resource consent there and things like that?
Yeah, so through the design process, they require a relatively large garage because of the overall collection that they've got. The floor area of the house plus the floor area of the garage has tipped us slightly over the maximum allowance for building coverage.
Right.
In their zone, you're allowed a certain percentage. We're slightly over that, which then requires a resource consent. We've got two options. We can either reduce the floor plan down slightly, or we can apply for a resource consent.
Okay.
With that collaborative approach with the client, we've decided that we do want to go for a resource consent, which will enable them to have their full house and the garage that they want, and mitigate it in some way so that there's no extra effects.
So can I ask, what are the chances of that being turned down by council? So is it quite high or quite low?
Extremely minimal.
Brilliant.
What the council are after is, when you go over a rule, how are you going to mitigate that? And we've got crafty wee things up our sleeves that we can employ to demonstrate compliance.
Brilliant. So that's really good. Now, what would the cost of that little bit be, approximately, for something like that, to get that resource consent? Sort of, you know?
So there's a few parts to that resource consent, but very basically there's the plans portion, there's an assessment of environmental effects report, which is compulsory, and then there's the overall application and management and more of the administrative side of things. The application to council itself at the moment as at mid-2020 is $3,000, including GST, to council.
Right.
So there are council fees associated with this.
And they're fairly standard.
Correct, yeah, for a single dwelling that's going outside the rules. For our fee to encompass the plans and the assessment environmental effects report and the administrative side, it really is a case-by-case scenario. We're going to be doing an approach for them because it really should be a walk in the park as more of an hourly rate.
Brilliant.
Typically we would find it somewhere between $2,500 and $5,500 plus GST on a purely generic sort of level.
Brilliant. Okay, now would you like to actually ask our viewers or tell our viewers more to the point of other things that you do within your company that could help them add some value to their property? And you just wing it really. Yeah, that'd be great.
Right, so me and my team can help you if you are thinking of anything to do with additions and alterations, investment property or new homes. Come and talk to us. Getting that good advice up front is really important. It doesn't cost anything just to have a one-off chat for 15 minutes, half an hour, just to increase your knowledge base with knowing what you're able to do. Having that advice up front, I cannot stress enough, is really important. If you are looking at doing a small additions and alterations, maybe we can adjust that to give you future provision for a potentially future subdivision, minor dwelling, something like that. There's so many options under the unitary plan. It's worthwhile having that conversation.
Thanks, Darren. The thing is also it's peace of mind. And I mean, sometimes you've got to invest a little bit there to get that peace of mind, and then you feel very confident handing over your hard-earned money to someone who is in control and goes through this process on a daily basis. Yeah?
Completely agree.
Okay. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed talking with Darren. I hope you've found something of interest, and do give him a call if there's anything you need to ask Darren.